Welcome to Creatives Grab Coffee, the podcast on the business of video production.
Creatives Grab Coffee is hosted by Dario Nuri and Kirill Lazarov from Labs Productions. Our goal is to share knowledge and experiences from video production professionals around the world. Whether you're a freelancer looking to start your own business or a seasoned business owner aiming to scale your company, this is the show for you.
Join us as we develop a community of like-minded creatives looking to learn and help each other grow. Welcome to the business of video production. Welcome to Creatives Grab Coffee.
Before we get started with the show, let's go over today's sponsors.
Do you have a shoot in Toronto? Do you need crew or a strong production partner to help you with your project? Labs Productions is one of the top production companies in Toronto and your go-to video partner.
With our strong creative skills and extensive network, we can help you achieve your goal. Labs Productions is able to offer you production services, white label services, or finder fees for project handoffs.
Reach out to us on our website at lapsproductions.com to learn more.
My name is Miran. Welcome to Canada Film Equipment. We are a boutique rental house based in Toronto. We are here to help you guys out with all production sizes. Feel free to contact us to get a quote if you are a production house and you're looking for lighting, camera packages, or lighting and grid fan packages. You can see our contact information in the link below. We are more than happy to help you guys out. Make sure you follow and subscribe to creativesgrabcoffee.com. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Matt. Welcome to Audio Process. We are a boutique audio company doing location sound, sound design, post-sound, ADR, Foley. We service equipment. We do all your audio needs here in Toronto. We got you covered. Come on down, audioprocess.ca. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and all of the other internet things to creativesgrabcoffee.com. They'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting for you, and we're all going to have a real good time.
And now, let's begin the show. All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Creatives Grab Coffee. I've already lost track of what number we are at this point. You know, I think after you get to episode 50, at that point, you just kind of stop counting. And anyways, today we have Jesse and Denver from Old Saw, a production company based out of Edmonton, Alberta. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So is this like your first podcast that you've been invited on, or are you guys already seasoned pros at this point?
It's our first podcast in the industry for sure that I've been on. I've done other podcasts with friends just on various things, but for sure, like of this nature, yeah.
That's how we
this
started.
my
first.
We did like our friends. We tried to do a podcast with our friends, and then we decided to actually turn it into something a little bit more professional.
Yeah, like the COVID board, podcast that everyone tried to do.
Yeah.
Denver, you said it's your first?
Yeah, this is my first podcast. Always kind of wanted to try it out because exactly like you said, you have all your friends gather around and you know, you're a bunch of idiots, let's be honest. Nobody wants to listen to that, but you always think it would be a good time.
Yeah, we basically did like one recording and then we listened back to it. I'm like, yeah, this can never see the light of day. But then Dario and I were thinking to ourselves,
we did like four recordings.
Was it four? I thought it was like two.
Yeah. We started this podcast called the Well Gents podcast.
Yeah.
Which I think our Facebook page is still up for it. And we had this whole like Law and Order type of opening for it, and
it actually was pretty cool. But then we decided not to do it, and but then we decided, you know what, Dario, we should probably both do something like this, and then we came up with this idea, and just here we are, more than 50 episodes later. But anyway, we kind of digress a little bit. Before we dive into it, guys, tell us a little bit about yourselves and Old Saw.
Yeah. So Old Saw was actually started by a friend of mine as his own little classic kind of freelance gig where you give it a little name back in like 2014. So it's actually been around for a long time. And then he did that for a few years and I would collab with him. And then in 2018, we incorporated and became Old Saw Studio, which is what we are now. He went to Vancouver to pursue the DP route, so, had to go off for bigger, better things. I bought the company from him, and then Denver came on just at the beginning of 2023. and we're a year and a half into business together now. So Denver and I own the company, and we've just been grinding it out. This new post-COVID world, figuring out how to do good work and what's needed, and yeah, that's kind of where we're at now.
Wow, that's a very interesting story. I don't think we've ever had a guest like with that kind of story in place, where you've been in it for like 10 years in a certain way, and then having somebody kind of join in as a partner much further down the road. So Denver, what was that experience like, kind of jumping into somewhat of an already established company and trying to make your footprint in there?
Yeah, it was interesting for sure. I had worked for a media agency before working with Jesse, and kind of, was pretty started pretty early on in the agency and grew with the agency, and just mutual parting of ways, and decided to do something else. Coming into an established business, it was kind of cool because, obviously we had a lot of clients. You kind of had an up on that already. You had some clients established already, some recurring clients. You could look at the books and go, okay, these clients we know are going to give us X amount of income every year because they've been doing it for the last 5 years, which is great. But it's also, I'm a very technical person, a very process oriented person. And so coming in and basically, from a bigger agency mindset with more employees, more people, to something that was a little bit smaller, a little bit more boutique, a little bit more niche, was pretty interesting and fun. It felt like we were back in the early days of the agency again, where you're kind of figuring things out and just kind of going with the flow. Like you're doing everything. But at the same time, there's a history there with the business itself. There's a history there with, I know I had done it before, and I'd been in a business that had grown before and could grow it again. And, lots of skills and expertise were kind of gained through my experience in a bigger company, let's say. So that was kind of what I felt that I could bring to the table. And what I tried to bring to the table in the first year. So,
are you guys friends? Like, how did you two meet?
Yeah.
Well, at the agency he worked at, they actually hired me to be an actor in like one of these little things.
Oh, really?
And then I had heard of Denver, and
actually, I hired one of his ex-employees too.
yeah, it's a pretty tight knit kind of industry, I guess, over here in Edmonton. So Denver and I met, and I was like, this guy's pretty dope. And he does coloring, and he had a coloring suite at the old place. And so
Nice.
I got him to color one of our projects, and we kind of became friends. And then, yeah, sure enough, left that. And I was like, well, I'm looking for some help. So hit him up, we grabbed lunch, and the rest is history.
Well, you guys really have had a very interesting kind of journey to how you guys kind of like started partnering together. So just to kind of clarify, it was it like a merger, or was it like Denver, you left that agency to join Jesse?
Yeah, I left that agency to join and rejoined Jesse. I left that agency. I took a couple months off just deciding what I wanted to do with my life and if I wanted to even stay in media or not, in video production. And then, Jesse kind of approached me and was like, no, this is what I think, this is what I have to offer you. And, we just kind of took a couple months to see if it would work, and here we are.
So
Nice.
you guys like split 50-50 now in terms of ownership of the business, or how do you have that settled?
I think like part of the situation, I guess, was like Denver was really with that agency from very early on, but never had ownership. And I felt that was something I could offer him that was unique, was saying, hey, come on board, and like I'm actually going to let you buy into this company, and where we can build something fresh from scratch. So he's at 25% right now, and we're going to go to 50-50 later this year.
Okay. So it was a kind of like first to kind of like test the waters a little bit.
Exactly.
Did you guys first test the waters though before joining together for a period? And like how long did that take before you decided, okay, let's fully join together?
Yeah, actually, so Jesse and I had lunch a couple days after I left the other place, and that was more just to catch up and whatever. But when which would have been July, when he actually approached me and said, "Hey, this is kind of my idea. This is what I think you should do, or what I'm kind of pitching to you," was October. And then, so we took a couple months after that, basically started, we would meet once a month for, the 3 months. But also on top of that, come October, I started joining them on some shoots, started just coming on board, kind of giving some consulting, giving some advice, and just kind of being a part of it. And then it was early December when we had decided, okay, yeah, this is the route we're going to go. So we officially partnered on January 1st of 2023.
What are like
Nice.
what's the split between the roles and responsibilities you two have?
That's a good question. I think I think what drew me to Denver and why we work pretty well together is we're quite different. So, and then maybe you guys could relate to that, being complementary with skill sets. So I'm much more, I'm definitely quite a creative person. I'm more salesy. Definitely trying to figure out new and interesting ways to do things, and especially when we're on set or on a shoot, it's this is too standard, this is too boring, let's make it weird, let's change this up. I really thinking from that angle. And Denver's more okay, but you need to learn how to book light, and you need to learn you can't shoot in that bit rate or whatever. It's more he brings that technical side to things, and so I kind of ended up I don't touch the gear as much anymore, and more so Denver's taking on that, and then I'm more taking on clients, sitting down, brainstorming with them, and obviously we collab on everything, but that's kind of more where the split happens.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds similar.
The way I like to say it too is, Jesse is that basically we take, Jesse is our deposit from the client, and I'm the final payment. So he gets the client and brings it, and I'm the one who's all right, we're gonna get it to that finish line, and we're gonna get paid for it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
rolls,
kind of what
rolls
we
the
have
ball
going
down
on
the
too.
hill.
Yeah.
Rolls the ball
Exactly,
down the hill.
Our arguments are always similar, where it's okay, we have to get this client finished up through the door, we got to keep moving, and he's yeah, but we need to do a good job on it. We're not going to rush through this part. I'm oh, so there's this funny back and forth where it's hey, Denver, we can't and not that he does this, but we can't put that many extra hours into this project, because I'm thinking more how do we keep the food on the table type of thing, where he's yeah, but we're trying to make good videos here, and so I think having that tension,
And so they come back.
yeah, and they come back totally.
Yeah, I think tensions like that. Yeah, I find those kind of tensions, although in the moments they might be a little bit it's a little bit annoying, at the end of the day, we're both fighting for a better outcome for not only for us, but for the client as well. And I think it's important to have that. If you guys had, say, two people who are very laissez-faire about the whole process, then, the content will suffer and the product will suffer at the end of the day. But at the same time, you want to be able to also deliver a good client experience. So you have to keep pushing the boundaries as much as possible on both ends to kind of find good, happy mediums, because there is no one-size-fits-all solution for every client, right? It always varies. With some clients, a little bit more the experience and the flow is a little bit more important than with others. The product is just slightly more important, but it's all these little variations and things like that. One thing I kind of wanted to also pick your mind about, Jesse, is that because you were with a partner for so long and then you went solo, it's hard to find that a new partner to kind of bring into the fray. And so a lot of people opt to stick as solo producers within their companies and then just hire out a lot of the technical aspects or crew up based on the needs of certain projects. Was it just the opportunity of Denver being there and looking for a good opportunity and a partnership that just kind of made you jump onto that? Or was it something that you were actively looking for before that?
That's a great question. I don't know if I was particularly headhunting per se, but I was getting burnt out, and I think that probably a lot of freelancers can kind of identify with this, where after Caleb, his name, he left, I was on my own, and it actually worked pretty good, because it was really during COVID that I was on my own, and I was kind of just working out of my basement and producing, a bunch of random stuff. And COVID was actually decent for us with getting video projects, because everyone needed it. But I got really burnt out, and I think the thing I was wanting to point out is just like there's something about having such a large breadth of things you need to be responsible for. Even if it can fit in an 8-hour day, it's just like too much bouncing around mentally. And so it's like I have like from books to like color, right? It's just like everything is just on my plate. And even if it's not that many projects, it's just very overwhelming and it's hard to stay organized. And I think that was getting me really burnt out, just being alone, handling everything from start to finish. And so I was definitely looking for something, and I ended up getting a little part-time job at a cafe just to kind of ground myself. And that ended up being super beneficial for me, just mentally, and also like networking wise was crazy. Like you should just work at a cafe part-time because the people you meet, we've gotten so many projects just from me working at this cafe.
We made a joke that Jesse can never leave that job because he just gets us so much work out of it.
What? That's so interesting. I would have thought like if someone was burnt out, the last thing they would need is to get a part-time job.
Yeah.
Doing.
As soon as you mentioned that,
something as simple as that.
Yeah.
But that's it. It's it's simple, right? And like for me, it's like I just needed someone to say, you need to be here at this time and do this simple task. Because for me, I had everything, right? Like it's like I could just do everything all day. And so there's a certain like keeping yourself accountable to that's emotionally exhausting sometimes, right?
That's very interesting.
That is the most interesting thing I've ever heard. I would have never thought that the solution to being overworked is to go work for someone else.
And and ironically, that has become like your networking vehicle. Like how do you go about? So you're saying you find clients while you're serving coffee? It's like, here's your latte. By the way, I have a production company.
It's Edmonton. I think it might be a little different here in Toronto.
I think it's very unique to Edmonton. That's for sure. That's what I mean. I'm just trying to process.
This is unique to small towns, basically.
Yeah. Well,
Genius,
I mean, and I'm not there anymore. So I was just there for a year. And it was like 15 hours a week. And I think the point of what I was trying to say with the overworked thing was it wasn't even like an overworked commitment to hours. It was more just like, it was more the actual scope of what I was doing was just like, bearing all the responsibility for everything was getting me really tired. And so I almost needed routine, if that makes sense.
Did you have enough to hire did you have enough to like maybe hire a project coordinator or someone part-time to come and help out with like all the menial stuff you have to do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I had an editor and he was my kind of the guy that was backing me, and he was huge, but he never wanted to like upgrade into that project coordinator space. And so I ended up letting him go. He just was like really content just editing. I was like, oh man, but I kind of need like help. And he just wasn't wanting that. And so that
he's
also
an editor. That's right. Like editor cuts, you know, he doesn't handle emails and all the other.
No.
It's like telling a fish to walk.
Yeah. Well, at some point that did happen.
Well, okay. Well, technically speaking, yeah. Okay. But I mean, that's still pretty interesting. Look, Denver, this is not to say like, you know, like we're trying to find reasons why he shouldn't have gone with you, right? But we're just kind of curious what that what that kind of like thinking is like. But I completely understand what you mean, Jesse, in terms of feeling overworked with the amount of like the scope of things, because sometimes you'd be doing like one task and then there's an immediate need for something else, which takes time. And then that other task gets put further down on the totem pole. Like today, for example, like one thing we're doing is we're working on some of our own content, right? So I'm like busy editing, and then I have a client call that I have to make a call for. And then, oh, good, we signed the project. Let me now put together the contract, send it out, confirm a few things. It's like, oh, before I knew it, another 2 hours that should have been for editing now already gone, right? Like the more different kinds of tasks you have, it really kind of extends like the time it takes to kind of complete some of them. So if you're doing it by yourself, it makes sense why you need to bring someone else on board. And to be honest, like I feel like Dario and I have been spoiled with each other for the last 10 years doing this, because you know we've always been able to like kind of like lean on each other for help in those sense. Don't get me wrong, I want to kill him every now and then, but
100%, 100%.
Yeah, you guys are young. You're like into this like a year in this relationship.
Like, look how Jesse was agreeing. It's like you guys have only been married for like a year. What do you know?
You're talking to a 10-year veterans in this, you know.
You guys should still be in the honeymoon phase by now.
Quick and dirty though.
Wait till you get to the point where like they call or like Denver, Jesse will call you, or Jesse Denver will call you, and you just ignore the call.
Oh,
That's when
yeah.
you know it's been a while.
You know what? I'm not.
like if
I'm
it's-
not dealing with this. Like, goodbye.
It's like I'm busy. It's like if it's really important, he'll send me a text saying, "Yo, it's important." It's like okay. Like, otherwise, yeah. Yeah. He tells me he goes to the library now to work every now and then as an excuse to not answer my calls. I know what he's doing.
I go there, but the benefit of going to the library is that I can't answer your call. That's one of the
That's
key
his
benefits.
excuse. That's his
Well, I'm
excuse,
looking
but-
forward to getting there. We'll keep working on it.
Yeah, but it sounds like you guys already have a good dynamic after just such a short amount of time as well. What would you guys say is like one of like the first maybe initial challenges that you might have faced when you guys started like working together?
When did you guys start working together? You said
2023
2023.
last year.
Last
Like
year.
a year and a half
it's
in.
been like a year and a
yeah,
half, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, what
Biggest
was like
challenges.
an initial challenge or challenges if you guys had?
Yeah. Well, how do I? There. I think the one that we still not argue about, but we still like conflict with to this day. Like, I think coming in. How do I put this? Not that it's mean, but just how do I put this? I think that. I had been.
relationship show.
Yeah,
Conversation is going.
yeah, I'm not.
I feel like I'm a shrink listening to a couple.
Oh boy. I think like coming in, Jesse and I had very different tastes. And I remember like
Okay.
at the last place, literally watching one of the videos that Oldsaw had produced before, like obviously while I was working at the other agency, and watching one of the videos, and I came in and me and my team, we sat down and we watched it and we went like, dang, like we would never make something that good here. And not to say that it was because of the people we had or you know, even just the agency in general or whatever, but it was like there was something about that video that that just really stuck out and was just like next level good. And you know, we produced some fantastic stuff over there, and we had a lot of I had a lot of like incredible people on our team, but there was just something about it that really struck out to me. And then coming into it, I think, you know, my brain often goes to let's just get it done, move on, and get to the next thing, and which is kind of opposite to what we were talking about earlier, where we have to, you know, I'm usually the one slowing it down and being like, okay, no, let's make a quality product, let's make this good, whatever. When it comes to shoot day and it's like, you know, we're 2 hours behind and we're trying to just move through, it's like I'll basically be the first one to be like, okay, well, let's just not worry about lighting this shot, let's just get the shot and move on, kind of thing. Or let's not worry about being nitpicky on this and let's just move on. And I think that was really challenged by Jesse. That was challenged in myself coming into it and realizing, hey, I want to make these things that are just a cut above what I've done in the past. And I think, I mean, it's kind of the funny like back and forth of my probably natural tendency is slow and cinematic, whereas Jesse, being a little more ADHD, is punchy, quick, get it done, crisp, fast, and edgy, and a little bit more puts you on edge and makes you feel something, right? So it's just a little bit of it's. I think that was our first like conflict, was really just like trying to align our visions and tastes, because ultimately we wanted the same thing, to deliver a great product, and trying to align our vision and taste to each other, so that when we're on set and when we're shooting these projects and planning these projects, we can actually make something cohesive that stands out.
So how did you
Nice.
guys come to that compromise?
Lots of arguments.
Yeah. Well, yeah, arguments, but honestly, like I think both of us have the ability to just be humble in the right moments. And that to me is key if you're working with someone who is unlike you, to actually like stop yourself and listen to what they have to say and then patiently sort of say, well, here's my angle. Now, it obviously doesn't always happen that way, but I think we're pretty good at it. And every time we do that, we end up with a really awesome product. I think the key thing we've realized is that's not the same as splitting the difference, right? And so it's not the same as saying, well, let's just do half of what I want and half of what you want. That normally turns out really bad. And we've done that in the past
Yeah.
where it's like, we'll kind of meet in the middle. Don't meet in the middle. More just like, okay, whose vibe are we committing to here? You know, and obviously, yeah, it's super contextual, but there'll be times where I'm like, well, let's do this. And he's like, yeah, no, but this is like, this doesn't fit what we're actually making here. I'm like, okay, that's true. And there's times where I'm like, oh, that's like, there's got to be a more interesting way to do this. And then Denver will stop and think, and he'll agree, right? And then we'll take the risk on that, and oftentimes they pay off.
Yeah, I think if you look at it as, the other person being like the first filter for your ideas and you being the first filter for their ideas, it's a good way to kind of help each other think a little bit more about like that initial idea, how you can expand on it, how you can change it, or something like that, and you'll get the feel of how the other person thinks as you go through that motion over and over and over. Like you guys, like you said, you're only like a year and a half in, and it sounds like you've already done quite a bit in that time. Whereas Dara and I, you know, it's 10 years in, and we're still growing with that, right? Things change. And
We
also,
don't butt heads anymore. Like we used
We
to
don't
have
butt
the same
heads.
issues. Yeah, we used to have the same issue back in the early days, and then you just get to a certain point where, like, the thing that helped the most with us was just having a more solid pre-production process, because then a lot of details were figured out in there, and then come production day, it was just a matter of time, really.
Knowing
we
what
just
to
had
do.
to get
Yeah.
certain things based on the time constraints that we had. So a lot of the times now that we do butt heads, it's literally just because, like, we just don't have time to keep getting all this stuff. I'm usually just telling Kirill to hurry up because we got to move on. That's really the only problem we have now, is that Kirill takes too long, or he wants too many takes, and it's like, okay, well, we're already behind and we got to move on.
like
That's really it. That's the only
probably the
issue
biggest
we have
one. Yeah.
nowadays.
It's not even
That's
really
funny,
an
like-
issue. It's just kind of like you know, you're in the moment. Like, for example, if you're the one shooting, you're in the moment. You kind of want to get certain angles or certain takes, and then you sometimes need someone to tell you, it's like, hey, like, we've already gotten a few. We're running. But that's like basically the AD role kind of like kicking in at that moment. It's like we got to kind of move on to the next one. All right. It's like, okay, cool. Which you need to have on set, right?
Am I coming through still here?
Oh, did Jesse freeze? Because for a moment I thought that was a very odd frame
so
to
did I.
freeze on. Like, he's really thinking intent. He's really listening intently right then.
He's
and
really
there.
just looking.
Oh my god, he better be able to join in.
He should be pretty
Well, let's
quick.
see. Oh yeah, do you think he'll be able to join in if we're still rolling?
I wonder because, he should be able to join in. I just
Oh
don't
yeah,
know
he
how
should be able to.
I don't know how the edit's gonna work now, because we have Riverside use AI to edit the episode. So I wonder how this is gonna work out.
Yeah, it's just gonna start off with Jesse like this. That look, just like fully like.
That's
Like,
how we
I'm
should
listening
start
to you.
That's how we should
That's
start
a-
an episode one day. Is just all frozen, and we're like, we're just joking. You thought we were frozen, did you?
That's
Yeah,
a classic
exactly.
Jesse. It's a classic Jesse look too in all of our meetings. Like, he just like kind of goes down and looks up, and it's like, what's going on? It's funny too because his webcam on his computer usually like cuts off half of his face, so it's just like down here. And so he's like,
Just like
like-
slowly coming up like this. Like,
exactly. It's like, we need to fix that. And sometimes because he likes it when he thinks, he kind of goes like this, and like he'll just have a toque on, and you'll just see his toque popping up in the frame, and you're like,
just a toque. Clients are like, who are
It's-
we talking to right now?
it's I mean, I don't know if it's still recording or whatever, but I mean, I kind of wanted to I can say this now. I wanted to say this about the coffee shop thing of like networking and whatever. Like, Jesse's a very unique, personable guy. Like, he makes those first impressions. He asks the tough questions right away. And so, like, for us to network and get work from a coffee shop was purely just like because people were curious of like who the heck this guy was. One, asking them these deep questions or whatever off the bat, and two, just like he's a quirky guy. Like, they just wanted to get to know him, right? So that was really like, it was a testament to him of just being a good networker, being in that role and being a good people person. So very quirky. That's what makes him him, and it's very fun to be a part of that. And get
I
to
love
know
how
him
he
more.
joins in right now. He
Yeah.
got
Right at
back
the end,
into
as
the
I'm
room,
saying.
and all he hears is like, he's a
Yeah.
very quirky guy, and that's
Yeah,
just
I'm a
him.
quirky guy.
He just joins in. It's like, what up?
Yeah, what do you say? Sorry, boys. The internet's weird today, which is really annoying, but we're back.
It's funny because I basically finished talking and then I looked over and I'm like, no thoughts, and you were just in this frame where you're
Yeah,
like
you're frozen, like
very
classic thinking
intently
face.
listening.
I do think that way.
I was just thinking about how funny it must have been. It's like these guys just want to get a coffee, and Jesse is over there asking them questions about their business and this and that.
No, but
and
dude,
the other
Their
thing.
life goals.
Yeah.
Like the people loved me there, and that was never my MO. Like I was never like I'm gonna market my. It was just like, what else do you do? Oh, I do video, right? Like people, you just get talking. You're just getting through the line.
I used to
And
do
so-
that at the bank too when I was a teller, so I relate to
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I get it.
It's funny. I wanted to bring this up. Like when you said like the pre-production thing is what solved a lot of those sort of tensions. I feel like we're speed running what you guys did in those 10 years because that's exactly where we are now too. And like where it started for us, I kid you not, was your guys' podcast.
Nice.
So we listened
really?
to one. Yes, man. I
Yeah.
listened to one where you guys were talking about like your proposal process, and I was like talking to Denver about like this makes so much sense. Like we need to do this, and it's like funny because you think it's just the simplest thing, but like sometimes you just need it spelled out for you. And I felt like you guys would do that on those like some of those episodes, especially the salesy ones. Those are all the ones I'd listen to. But yeah, that's what got the ball rolling for us like a few months ago, maybe close to a year.
Yeah, that's how it was for us too. Like when we started understanding how much of a step-by-step process there needs to be for just the initial stages of the whole project. Like before we were just we were trying to basically create a document that just had everything from the details to the creative to the mood board, storyboard, examples. Like it was basically doing the entire project in one document. And we kept like taking things out, putting things in, and then realizing, okay, this is all important, but we don't need to do it all at once. Let's first start splitting it up. And honestly, like from the last episodes you've probably listened to, it's probably went through a few different changes.
It changes
even up until now.
It changes
Yeah.
like on a weekly basis.
Oh, 100%.
I remember,
100%.
Yeah.
I remember when we were first doing them. Girl was like, "Oh, like don't do it so that they have it because they might share it with other people." And I was like, "Carol, like, go like even if they do it, like it changes so often.
Makes
Just
no
look at the
difference
one
at this
from like the
point.
month before, like it's completely different. And sure,
And
if
not-
they want
like,
to share
nothing's-
outdated stuff, like go for it."
Nothing's new under the sun with that stuff really either.
Yeah.
Like you don't have the proprietary proposal process. Like you just have a process. And I think like
Yeah.
that's the thing is like I always say to Denver, let's just make something and then you have it written down and then you can be like, this is wrong. But at least you can say why it's wrong versus
Yeah.
just not being able to say anything at all. Right. And so
Yeah.
like just having something is like you're already like ahead of like 80% of businesses who just are dogging it like I was for years, where you're just like, yeah, we'll just make it happen, right? Whereas like now it's like, okay, perfect. We have our discovery call. That's where we gather this info. It's more about listening. And then if you're interested, we kind of give a price range. And then from there, we sit down
And
and do a
he's gone.
brainstorm.
Oh, what a nightmarish
all
day
good.
to have internet problems, eh?
Yeah. Oh, he's
Oh,
back.
he's good.
back.
There, he's still here. He's
Oh,
still
he's
here.
frozen again. He's frozen again.
No. Oh yeah,
No, he's
he is.
frozen. It looks like a profile picture.
Oh man, poor Jesse.
Oh, poor guy. And usually, like, our office internet is 10 out of 10. It's super reliable, never had any problems. But today, we were in a call earlier before this, and he got booted out twice, too. So,
Oh, so he's just one of those days where the internet is just
One of
having
those
some issues
days.
for him.
So you guys are
And
you
you're-
guys are you guys are in your office right now, right?
so Jesse's in our office. I'm at my home office.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of killed the whole office thing early on. Like we've gone back and forth on it, but we never really committed to it. Actually, we were
we
about
want
to
to do it, but we want to do it, but it just doesn't make sense yet. That's that's just
you
where
know
we're
what?
at.
We were thinking about it. We were almost about to do it. We were about to pull the trigger
Like a year ago,
at the beginning
think.
of 20. I don't know. Mid
2023 beginning. I think we
was
were
it
close to
2023 or
doing it.
2022.
It was either like we were
2022.
looking. we were looking into
2022.
it a little bit more in depth in 2022 because we
We were
just
about
came off
to-
a project.
No, we were
that was-
about to we were about to start looking with our agent friend and everything. In 2022, I think it was
Yeah.
like around like April to May ish.
Yeah,
And
but
thank
it's
God
just,
for that. Thank God for that, because then you know what happened with the economy and everything. We would have been in a very bad spot right now, because that would have been a 3-year commitment.
Right.
yeah. Because
Minimum.
here the rents are insane for
Yes.
anything in Toronto. I don't know how it is in
No, they weren't
Edmonton.
bad. No, Carol, they weren't bad. Like the
3K a
option
month
we were-
is still pretty
yeah, but the
pretty
space was
pricey.
big. If we wanted to, we could have got something smaller for half of that. We
Yeah,
wanted something that was spacious. That was the issue.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because like if you're gonna do a studio where you could actually shoot in it, like that's
Yeah,
the whole
you need
point, right?
space.
Where you could actually
Yeah.
create content. If you don't have that, then what's the point of even getting
Exactly.
a space,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How
That's-
big is your office?
Oh, it's a closet. It's actually an old, like our office that Jesse's in right now is literally an old. So the building used to be owned by a church, and then they kind of like sectioned it off, and so now it's kind of like a shared co-working space. But we are literally in the church's old coat closet. So it's just enough to store equipment and have 2 desks in there. That's it.
I
The whole
that's
thing-
not
The
bad.
whole point, but look, the whole point of the office for us was like, oh, okay, like we weren't being too productive at home. We were having issues with that, so we're like, okay, at least we can go there, and then,
Yep.
excuse me, it'll force us to work and whatnot. So,
Yep.
I'm glad we didn't go that route, because it would have been a very expensive way to work.
Yep.
But now,
Well, it
luckily
would've-
for me, at least I have a library right next to my building, so I just walk over there in the mornings, and I just spend like several hours there. The YMCA is right next door, so I finish there.
Oh, nice.
Go do a little bit of cardio, work out a bit, go back to the library, finish off, go home, eat. Like, it's much cheaper that way.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I mean the benefit like of having the space was more so also like, okay, if we could actually use the space to shoot some of our own content, even have some client content done in there, you know, like that is going to pay for it a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of value that comes from it. But again, if we were to sign on for a contract, it's like $3,000 a month. That's $36K a year, and I'm not even including probably the $10K upfront that you probably have to put into
Utilities
it
we
just
have
to make
pay
it
into as well, like
that too. Like it'll just
shared
add up.
expenses they don't mention.
Yeah, and that
The
was the thing
off
that
cost,
we
yeah.
realized. That's why we realized, like, okay, you know what? If we absolutely need to use the space for anything, then we'll rent it out. If at that point, if we absolutely need it. So, up until now, we've been able to make it work with staying remote, and honestly, like with just 2 people, you really don't need something permanent as of yet, right? Once you start growing a little bit more, then maybe you might have to start thinking about it. But I know there are a few companies that we've had on the show that I think are remote and are like 5-6 people even.
Honestly,
And they're
Carol,
still-
even if we do get to that point, and I would rather just get a shared work or rent out a shared workspace for like a day or 2 if we need to
Yeah,
do big
exactly.
group meetings. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than commit to having a big office space. Like the overhead cost alone, like I don't know, man.
there
Stuff
are
like
a lot
that
of those
worries
like
me, because like with our jobs, like it's usually the first thing that will get cut in a marketing
Yeah.
budget.
Right. Yep.
So it's always like, you know, like if something happens, like it's happening now in our economy, like ours is the first one to get cut out of that budget. Why take the risk? At least now,
Yeah.
like unless
during the pandemic, I knew this one marketing agency owner, like, pretty small, but had like a few big contracts like before the pandemic. And then they had an office downtown, team of like maybe 5 to 10 people. And this office was costing her about, I think it was like $8,000 a month at the time, which was fine because she had a lot of great work coming in. She had a team that she had to manage. It made sense before pandemic. Pandemic hit. She had just signed like a 3-year lease 2 months before the pandemic, and or I don't know if it was 3 years, maybe 2 years, but yeah, imagine that $8,000 a month for 2 years locked in, and there was no way to get out of it, and that
And you
just
can't
like
even
scared
use the
me.
space. Like you can't go into it, right? Because you just have
No.
to stay home.
Yeah, so like that's like one of those like harsh examples of like how when you get locked into something like that, it could really decimate you if you don't have a a plan B or anything like that. I mean, granted, COVID was just like a whole separate thing, and we've beaten that topic to death at this point. But it just goes to show that anything can happen, and you have to really make proper business decisions based on current and potential situations that come down the road. And even though Dario and I knew we were in a good space at the time, we knew that the next few months was going to be lucrative. Who knows what's going to happen next year? And lo and behold, the economy tanked for a little while. And like, I'm just really glad that we didn't have, like, I think we would be like 70, 80 grand down in rent alone. And
Bro,
that's just
don't even
being conservative at this point.
I can't even imagine. It would have been. I did the calculations and I was like, "Kirill, this is gonna be about 100 G's in 3 years."
In 3 years.
I was
Didn't
like,
make
"You
sense.
wanna?" I was like, "If you really want to, I suggest we just set 3K aside every month, put it in a savings account, and then maybe in 2 years, if you want, we either use it as a down payment for a condo." And then, you know, or something else. And then just, at least we can build equity with like a place, you know, instead of paying someone else's like mortgage on a property. I'd rather like we get something out of it through the business.
Did you,
So that's-
Denver, did you
that's
tell
our
them
plan.
about our space?
Yeah, the church.
Yeah, we were
church
just
closet.
talking about that.
Yeah, church closet, $500 a month.
I mean, for
That's
500,
really
that's not
cheap.
that's not
That's
bad.
really
That's
cheap.
not
Okay.
bad. Okay, like I,
That's
You
really
gotta,
good.
run lean, dude. Like you gotta. And I mean, that's what I love. What you guys are saying. Like I think that's so crucial is the cash flow piece, where you're just not getting smoked.
Well,
keep in
and-
mind, we have a storage locker as well for all of our equipment, like a 10 by 10
Yeah.
foot storage unit, which costs now, I think we got a good deal on it, like something like
177.
150. Okay, so like 180 roughly a month, which is not bad, even just to store all your equipment, because that's also part of the need. You know, like for during the pandemic, Dario and I, we were just basically storing half at my place, half at his place. Complete nightmare to kind of get it out there. And the biggest issue I had back in the day was needing to assemble everything on a cart in my condo, bring it down to the to the parking lot, load it into my car, then go to the location, then back, and then bring it back up. And it was just such a crazy nightmare at the time that we ended up getting our own storage locker, especially since the equipment list kind of like got bigger. It just became easier to store like that. And that makes sense. So basically our only overhead technically is, like 180 in terms of storage or physical space, right? And for you guys, $500 storing all your equipment and having a space to do work, that's not too bad.
Yeah, that's pretty
It's
good.
not bad. Yeah, we're in a similar situation again too, with like even bringing on a part-time person or hire or something, right? Where it's like, okay, well, back in September we were pretty swamped and we're like, oh, we got to hire an editor, we got to get a part-time editor. But then it's like, well, look, if we look 3 months down the road, we can't afford that editor. Like,
Yeah.
And I'm glad we didn't do it, but now we're in another spot where it's like, okay, is this the time? And we've got like contractors and subcontractors helping us out and everything, but it's kind of that, like when do you make that commitment to a space or a person, or it's a jump in costs. Like when can you justify that, right?
I think it also depends on the person that you find, because I found that a lot of the people that we're working with are freelancers, which, we would love to bring them on full time, but it's going to be very difficult to bring them on full time because they also want to be working on different kinds of projects with different companies. Finding full-time people, you're going to have to completely redefine what the role is almost to find those people, because people who want a full-time versus sticking to freelance, they're completely different mindsets that they might have. So you have to see if you could even find that as a possibility, right? But I don't know. It's something that we're also not there yet. Like we have like a bunch of different subcontractors that we bring on for post, for production as well. Dara and I strictly handle the pre-production for all projects on our own, just to kind of keep everything streamlined. And full-time editor would definitely be the next hire, but who knows, right? Like, I mean, projects are like can come in an influx at once. Like, for example, in 2022, we had a project where we were shooting for 3 weeks straight, every single day for this one client, and we had to produce 80 explainer videos in 1 month. So that was like one of those times where it's like we ramped up and we basically brought in one of our freelance editors, air quote, full time, just to help us tackle that project from start to finish. But then we might have like a month where it's like one small video project here and there, or if it's something minor enough that we can do it in-house. Like if there are some projects that are simple and quick to do, I would do it in-house for the team, because then, you know, it helps kind of streamline some things, and we don't, like, when you work with an editor, there's a lot of back and forth sometimes that happens, right? Which can delay the process sometimes. And if it's something very quick that you can get to a client out instantly, then you will make the judgment call based on how much work is going on at the time, right?
Do you guys use, what do you use for, like, do you use DaVinci Cloud at all, or how do you guys do your editing?
Frame.io.
We use Frame.io.
Frame.io.
Oh man, you guys, do you guys edit DaVinci or your Premiere?
Premiere.
Oh, okay,
Premiere. We're not DaVinci. We're not part of the Black Magic family, all right? Like,
Okay. Well, we've been using DaVinci Cloud. It's disgusting. It works so good. It's just like open up the project on any computer, full speed. It's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's for, like, it's been out a couple of years now, and we just learned about it a month ago, and I was like, this should have been a bigger deal than it was. Like, my jaw was on the floor for like 3 days figuring out, like, really? Because I was always a Final Cut guy, and that was what finally switched me was Cloud, and it's pretty nuts.
Hasn't Apple abandoned Final Cut?
Not yet, but
Not yet.
yes.
Oh, they're still supporting it. Okay.
They're still
don't like
supporting it.
Final
It's still getting updated. It's still I mean, I edited on Final Cut for like 15 years, so it's like it's a tough one to let go. I was editing a wedding yesterday, or like doing some edits on a wedding yesterday that I had done in Final Cut before switching, and I'm like, man, I miss how snappy and quick and fast this is. But I mean, I said 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I was like, this program's not going to exist in 5 years, and I'm shocked it's still around, because I mean, Apple's pretty much putting all their chips behind DaVinci at this point too.
Yeah, the Final Cut was never a favorite of mine, because of like the whole transcoding process. That's what I learned early on, and then I found that most people that we've ever interacted with know the Adobe suite, so it's just been pretty straightforward to stick to it. Like, yeah, maybe DaVinci could be better, but that means not only do you have to learn it, you have to find editors that edit in it and work it, because what happens if you have to take over something on a project from an editor that isn't familiar with it, right? Then it's like,
For sure.
oops. But anyways, I think we're kind of like heading close to like the 2 o'clock mark we've already lost one of our patrons on the episode. So for the 3rd time in this episode, Jesse is MIA.
Oh dear.
You think
coming back in.
we'll be able?
All
There
right,
we go.
we got. I should wrap up here.
That's literally what
we were just
saying.
talking
That's
about.
what we were saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I feel like I'm ruining your guys' podcast here with my stupid internet. But
You know, it's funny. The audio, the people listening to this on the go with audio is not going to know the difference. You know, just you know, the rest of us just took over the conversation at that point.
yeah.
But no,
Well,
everything's staying in the way it is. This is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully, there's
Guys,
enough
thank you
usable
for-
stuff there for you.
Oh, for sure. But anyways, thanks guys for jumping on. Like, I know this was a little bit more of a quick episode than compared to our usual like hour and a half long ones that we typically do. But let's keep in touch and let's chat again a little bit more in depth. You know, it doesn't have to be in a podcast format either. But great to finally meet you guys, and also thanks for supporting the show for so many years as well. We appreciate that.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks for having us on. And I mean, thanks for all the valuable information that you've provided us with your podcasts over the years. So it's been, it's cool to finally meet you guys and get to talk to you guys.
Likewise.
Hopefully we can keep it going.
For sure.
Yeah, we'll keep it going. Thanks so much, boys.
Thank
All
you
right,
guys.
thanks,
All
guys.
right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Peace out.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Creatives Grab Coffee. Please make sure to follow and engage with us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and your favorite podcast app.
Creatives Grab Coffee is created by Labs Productions, a video production company based in Toronto, Canada.
Creatives Grab Coffee is also sponsored by...
My name is Miran. Welcome to Canada Film Equipment. We are a boutique rental house based in Toronto. We are here to help you guys out with all production sizes. feel free to contact us to get a quote if you are a production house and you're looking for lighting, camera packages, or lighting and grid fan packages. You can see our contact information in the link below. We are more than happy to help you guys out. Make sure you follow and subscribe to creativesgrabcoffee.com. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Matt. Welcome to Audio Process. We are a boutique audio company doing location sound, sound design, post-sound, ADR, Foley. We service equipment. We do all your audio needs here in Toronto. We got you covered. Come on down, audioprocess.ca. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and all of the other internet things to creativesgrabcoffee.com. They'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting for you, and we're all going to have a real good time.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.